All right, and I got the Hangout going, so hopefully that's working. Yes, the microphone's recording. Okay. So fall mid-cycle planning. I think we agreed at the last mid-cycle that we want to do a mid-cycle again. Yeah, I just started it, Rajat. I don't know if you're on the. Yeah, it should be going. Is it going?
Is that a YouTube stream?
Yeah.
There it is.
Yep, he's got it. Okay. Yeah, so we talked about doing a mid-cycle again. I think we want to do that. I'm mainly looking at Brian, Sean, Walt, Eric, me, since you guys are in Raleigh, because I don't think anybody else has offered to host, which is fine. I'm happy to do it. I have a Etherpad on it here somewhere.
Is there any location that would encourage more people to show up?
That is a good question.
I don't have any obvious candidates for that. So.
I picked Raleigh because there's the largest concentration of people there.
Yeah.
And I can justify getting there most easily and am able to host it. And I thought that worked pretty well.
Yeah,
That was good. That was a good place.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll go forward with that. We have 3 weeks proposed that I think we put together that did not conflict with your kids, my kids, or anything else we knew of at the time.
Okay.
So we've got August 19th, September 2nd, which would be the week right after Labor Day. Monday is that Labor Day, or September 16th.
August 19th is 2 weeks before final non-client library freeze in the schedule.
Okay.
So that might be a good time to
Mm-hmm.
make sure we get everything done before we can't get anything done.
So we don't make mistakes like we did last time around. Okay.
The actual midpoint is mid-July, so yeah, I don't think we want to push it much later.
Okay.
I think I can do that too.
Okay. August 19th is okay with you?
they're about the same for me, I think.
Okay. So should we nail it down for the 19th? And I'll go back to Lenovo and make sure that's okay. I don't think it's gonna make a big deal. And then that would be a good opportunity for us to do some catch up, clean up, make sure we get our libraries in order. You know.
Monday to Wednesday. Period.
Okay, so yeah, because you had questions about the timing.
Yeah, well, the
Um,
theory was that if it was not Tuesday to Thursday, if it was on either end of the week, that it would be easier to drag a couple Red Hat people in, because
Okay.
we could also have a Red Hat gathering on the other side of the week.
Are you suggesting doing it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday?
Or Wednesday to Friday, either one, just not right in the middle.
I would vote the Wednesday through Friday, because then I don't have to upset being with my kids the
Yeah, I don't really care.
Sunday, Monday. Would that work for other people?
So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday?
I don't know how many people were.
Wednesday,
set up
Thursday,
traveling on
Friday.
Wednesday.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
That should be fun.
Okay. So, so we will do August 21st, 22nd, 23rd. Will be in RTP at Lenovo campus again. And I think that's all we need to decide at this point, other than to advertise it so that hopefully a few more people can plan ahead and join.
Sounds good.
So, okay, cool. Well, that was easy. Let me update the planning Etherpad. So we've got Sean should be able to be there. Walt, boring. Brian. Tom.
Make sure you put Tom.
Hmm?
Make sure you put Tom as well.
Oh, yeah. I will put that as a to-do. All right, and I'll put a link here. For remote attendees. Okay. So to-dos will be confirm with Lenovo, poke Tom, Aaron. Can you poke your coworkers
Yeah.
as well to have them plan ahead so that hopefully we can get like John there and any of your other.
Where are you writing all this?
I updated I'm putting the to-dos in our Etherpad here, and the details here, I'll link them from the Etherpad. Our Cinder train.
Hopefully at least our East Coast Cinder crew will show up.
There's the Etherpad that I have more details in. Cool. Good. Well, I'm glad we'll continue to do that and that people feel that that's useful. Would you be able to make a mid-cycle in Raleigh? If we did
Yeah,
it? Okay.
probably.
So we're looking August 21st, 22nd, 23rd. Okay. Add, and I'll host it at Lenovo again. So just add it to your plan. Cool. That's good. All right. Thanks for helping get that nailed down. Any other thoughts, questions about that? Nope. Okay. Mr. McGinnis, what are we gonna do about moving to Alembic?
I don't know if I'm gonna have a lot to say about it at this point, but yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
We have to do this, right? Basically,
Yeah,
because SQL alchemy migrate is dying.
it hasn't really, it's been on life support for a while. The maintainer doesn't want to continue supporting it, so it is going away. So yeah, we do need to do this. It's not like we have to absolutely get it done and train, but we should really start looking at it because I have a feeling it's gonna take a little work.
Glance already did this, right?
Yeah, the Olympic migration.
Is there anything really surprising that came up here and all that? I assume by now there's kind of a formula for how to do this.
Yeah, there might be. I mean, when we did it, there wasn't much out there. So, it's surprising.
So I'm guessing you guys documented it very well as you did it.
Well, we documented it. So, yes, but it's tied together with, at the same time we're doing this, we're doing the, what are they calling those upgrades that you do live?
Rolling upgrades?
Yeah. So the live upgrade thing. So it's tied together with a specific way of making that happen, as well as, so we did two things at once, probably shouldn't mix together. So the Alembic scripts that we have do this expand, migrate, contract cycle, and use database triggers so that you can keep the, you can run and the version of the API plus one version at the same time and not have data corruption or anything. So that was like very heavily discussed, and the spec about that is very detailed. And there's documentation of compliance contributor docs about doing the Alembic, what you have to do now once everything is set up.
Bless you.
Did you remove all migration or you just left all migration and started new this calendar?
Well, what we did was in one cycle, we kept both the old, SQL alchemy migrate scripts plus the new ones, just in case there was a screw up. And then we stopped. Basically, we did what Sean's been doing with the cinder compressing the earlier cycles, so that you don't have A through T when you go to set up the database.
Well, when you say you had the old ones, they weren't actually used, right? They were just sitting around.
Right, they were there just in case
Right.
something went wrong with the Alembic migration, and then you could just use the old technique. And they were also there for, we had this idea that operators might be kind of worried about screwing the database, so there's a compare what's happening. So I'm not sure those might have been removed, but they're in Git somewhere. We can think about it. They might still very well be there.
I think they were last time I looked.
Oh,
Yeah.
so this is a to-do list.
So I think a lot of the idea with this is to do like we did with some of the compacting the database migrations, where we, I guess, would try to implement it and then run the old and new stuff and see if we get the same thing, right?
Yeah. I'm not too worried about the migrations not working right, unless we just completely screw up something. I'm more concerned about how we make that switch, what needs to be done to actually, during an upgrade, to go from SQL Alchemy migrate based upgrade to Olympic. But I'm sure that's, well, it's obviously, it was done in glance, so
Yeah, they're different, so there's like I think there's a migration table or something that stores the version. So it's slightly different from the way it's done in SQL Alchemy, because it's the same basic idea.
okay.
And so depending on whether you want to do the, for the migrations and plans, you always have the expand, migrate, contract scripts, and they might be null, but we do that for each one just to keep the uniform across. And so you can have several different versions of a migration within a single cycle. So I think you might work on that too. We don't have to do it a lot. But the database stores what the last migration was. And we don't support backward migration just because it's open.
What does expand and contract mean in this context?
So expand is usually you're adding some kind of table or something, or a column, and then the migration is to get the data over to it, and then the contract is to remove the old stuff once everything's using the new columns. So the example that worked through in the document is about when we changed. We used to have just 2 image visibilities, and the way it was actually stored in the database was a 1 or a 0 for each public, which we didn't expose. And then we went to a 4-value visibility, and so we needed to change the type of the column, and also migrate the values appropriately for each.
So do you recall that initial time that you upgrade to a new version that uses Alembic, how do you know? Does the Alembic migration scripts just assume that the database is? Well, I can't. How do you get the full schema if it's a fresh install, or know to pick up where the last version from SQL Alchemy migrate ended? Okay.
Yeah.
I haven't seen him around, but I think the maintainer was going to work with Nova or somebody else, and hopefully, if we can get a hold of them, we might be a better first project to push this with, because I'm guessing we're not as complicated.
Yeah, it was helpful when we were working this.
Oh, good. Yeah, it'd just be nice if there's some kind of documented best practice guide of how to move off of SQL Alchemy migrate. Yeah, so that's all I didn't have anything else to say on it other than it still needs to be done.
Okay. Do we want to put some follow-up to-dos to keep it moving forward? Yes. Well, the first to-do was to compact our old migrations.
Yeah, I think the last time I did that, I stopped at Okada because Okada is still extended maintenance. So I wasn't sure with all the fast forward upgrade work being done if we should compact it more. Actually, that should be fine.
Yeah, probably argue to do that again.
Yeah. Do that.
Okay. Talk about it again in September.
Put another to do. I'll try to track down Zeke, the maintainer, and see if we can get any guidance or help or whatever.
How many Z's does he have in his name? Okay.
Is he working on Olympic stuff?
What was that?
Is he working on Olympic stuff?
I believe so.
Cool.
That sounds like progress to make. And we'll call it good. All right. All right. Next subject. Syncing scheduler stats in an HA environment.
Yeah. So this was something that was raised as something we should do as we're moving toward a lot more active HA stuff for Cinder. The basic problem here is that when you create and delete volumes through the Cinder scheduler, it keeps a count in memory of gigabyte changes and count changes for what the outcome on the back end is by counting, the operations that went through that scheduler. So what happens in an HA environment, if you have a handful of schedulers, is that for the interval between calls to get volume stats from the back end, they can all have different views of how much space you have and how many volumes you have on the back end. And I guess for a lot of use cases or a lot of deployments, this is probably not hugely problematic, but I think at scale, it's something that we probably should strive to at least try to get correct on.
I thought Gorka put a little bit of work into this and how to resolve the differences. A little bit.
So he wrote up some proposals on how to do it. And there's two basic ideas. One is that anytime you do something that would change this count, you could AMQP broadcast it to the other schedulers so they all kind of do the same thing and they all have a pretty much similar view of the state of the back end. And the alternative was to basically do the same thing, but instead of with AMQP, track it in a database table and have everybody increment and decrement something in the database live as they do these operations. There's some pros and cons about which one's easier either way. And I don't yet have a very strong opinion on which one we should do.
So the sizing issue, that doesn't really matter terribly much until you get pretty low on space, right?
Probably.
Then it might really
Yeah.
matter.
Yeah, I mean, how much it matters really depends a lot on how much it matters if you go over quota a little bit, kind of thing, or if you over provision a little more than you meant to.
Mm-hmm.
And it just depends a lot on the deployment. I mean, if it's a lower traffic deployment, it probably doesn't really matter much at all.
So do you propose to sync scheduler stats between nodes only, or use something like etcd or database? Something like that.
Well, one option is every time we do an operation, we can sync them all via AMQP between the schedulers. Or we can, instead of using AMQP to transfer that info, do it through the database.
So I am looking to my proposal last year, which has a lot of -1 to move everything to database. But I prefer using etcd because yes, it will be a bit slower than in-memory operations, but it's not really an issue for scheduler.
It's not really an issue until it's an issue for someone. I mean, someone's going to care that the scheduler is not accurate, I think.
Yes,
Yeah,
but
You mean the performance?
yes, I mean performance.
Yeah.
So if we will put everything to the etcd, for example, we have a bit performance degradation, but
Why would we put it to etcd though?
it's just a proposal. Because it already has everything to do. We don't need to implement our syncing mechanism for sync data between nodes. We don't need to care about some lost messages from the Rabbit queue and so on.
I would think that the database would be easier than etcd, but I'm not sure.
The real database or CD doesn't matter really. Because most of them are the pretty common component in almost like the already use CD for distributed logs.
Yeah.
In the
so-
HA environment, we have etcd.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, but you're gonna end up implementing a database row and it looks just like what you would do in the database.
And
Anyway, I mean,
I think it will be a bit easier to use in instead of database because we don't need to care about database schema, migrations, and so on.
yeah.
Just
until
need to
you,
review some
until you
JSON format
upgrade
and put it-
one of your scheduler nodes and then they mismatch on the schema that you're using in etcd, you have the same issue that the migrations handle. I mean,
With the database one, we need to have some better locking on the database to make sure that multiple nodes aren't.
Yes.
so the proposal that Gorka had suggested wasn't to do it with locking, but it was to make sure that all of the information changes are basically relative adjustments. So you can just do increment 1, increment 20 gigs. And I think if you go through the way the scheduler keeps track of this stuff and you make them all relative changes like that, I think you can get by with the semantics of how the database would serialize that anyway.
Where would that increment actually?
That's wherever we do it in memory right now in the scheduler, where we have a variable that we keep track of how many.
But if with multiple schedulers,
Well, wasn't this where we were talking about what the placement group does? Where we need to, the scheduler needs to check and see if it agrees with what it thinks the value should be. And if it doesn't, it has to update first and then redo the math and send it.
seems like there would have to be something like that because even if whether it's a relative or a direct number, the issue is still there that if this is an HA environment, there could be some concurrency issues.
What's the concurrency issue if you're just saying increment by 1, decrement by 1? When you
Is
need
it-
to do that
But that's what I mean. Where's that increment decrement actually
in
happening? A SQL
SQL?
statement?
Yeah, because currently what we do is pull an actual value and keep track of a number. But if we avoid that, then I think you can just atomically move it up and down. I don't remember what this old proposal was. There's not a lot of minus ones on it.
Wow, that is a lot of minus ones.
Yeah.
Sadness.
I'm surprised that there is no -2.
Hey, Tommy can help out on it. You tried. It's been around long enough that Winston actually looked at it.
The other reason that would probably be good to do this in the database is that I think it's gonna end up overlapping with, some work that I'm assuming we're gonna end up doing at some point to fix our, quota system. 'Cause I think this is gonna have to, I think they share a lot of the same kind of calculation and stuff that I have to keep track of.
Matt Ruderman's suggesting using the placement API. I mean,
That doesn't make any sense.
at all.
Well, we went through that.
That was the idea that that would be a third-party source.
And we can hand out info management if we need to, but I don't think it has anything to do with fixing this.
If you're talking about a performance hit, I mean, a REST API to increment a counter and then another one to read it back and constantly
This
manage.
is the idea people have been kicking around forever, is having a service that does quotas. And I've never figured out why we want to do that, but
Yeah.
people keep talking about it.
Well,
The quota service.
the unified limits is there. It's in Keystone and there's an Oslo library, and that's what everyone is going to be needing to move to. So we are,
Oh, no kidding.
yeah.
You know, well, I haven't
That's
studied
beyond
the
the special
most
snowflake.
recent version of that, but
So does it require another service to be running,
No,
or is it just a database?
Keystone added the handling for it, and then the Oslo library standardizes how all the projects interact with that.
So how does it, is it gonna work when we don't have Keystone around, like doing a no-off, when you still wanna have quotas?
do you have quotas now if you do know? I guess you do, right?
Yeah, it's all in the Cinder database.
Do we do?
I don't know. If we don't, then it's not an issue. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, it looks to me like Yvonne's spec kind of had the right idea. It just didn't have a lot of info in it.
Yeah. The other question I have is with the SQL Alchemy, not SQL Alchemy Migrate, are we able to write those SQL statements to do the increment in the SQL and not in the calling code?
I assume we do, or I assume we can, but I haven't gone and tried to do it yet. I think that's a pretty fundamental SQL thing that you can do. And I think we actually may have some code that does some of that already, but I forget.
Okay. Well, sure, then let's get that spec updated and just get something implemented then.
So I think that'll fall on, I don't know. Dorka has a whole little,
I mean, who should update the spec?
I will.
Okay. You giggled when I put your name there, so thought I better check.
I think Dorka's thought through a lot of this stuff already. It probably help there.
It's a chance to get finally -2 for this spec.
Well, I mean, the main problem with that spec is it just didn't have much info on it.
Did we reach any agreement for Yvonne to follow on how we want to handle the syncing? Is it, well, wait, this is proposing using a database?
I would just say talk to Dorka before going and writing a ton of stuff on it, because he already thought through kind of how some of this might work.
I'm okay to use database or PTG or any storage, but not implement whole help for it for a sync in between almost, because it's it's really not trivial task. Could hit a lot of marks, especially when one nodes go away, one node receive
Yeah.
old message. So, and personally, I prefer to not use message bus like RabbitMQ for such critical things because it doesn't guarantee anything.
Okay.
Well, the failure mode, if you lost the AMQP messages, for what we were talking about here, was just that you would be out of sync for like however long it is till you run volume stats again. So it's
Yes,
not the
but
worst thing if
We
you,
were talking about database, you can't lose it. So if you lose it, we will know for sure because we have connection came out, transaction, exception. Something. If we send something via messaging, okay, the message go away and we don't know is our information up to date or not. That's my concern. It's crazy idea, but we can make this pluggable so operators could decide what backend storage or schedule information should be used, TCP or database. Or some file and shared system. But it sounds like some kind of overengineering at this point.
Okay. So go with the two to-dos we have here. You'll work on updating the spec. You'll talk to Gorka about the database issues.
Okay.
We'll make sure to get Gorka to look at it and help out where possible. I'll put it in the weekly meeting to ping Gorka. Anything else on that, Eric?
no.
No? Okay. We're a lively bunch this afternoon. Jumping jacks, everybody?
Torso twists.
And reach for the sky. Ooh, that made weird cracking. That's not good. All right, so it came in discussion after the last release where we had some oopsies that maybe we should put together some documentation to try to avoid that in the future. And Sean was kind enough to start on that. The review is linked there. I think that I merged that already, didn't I?
Yep.
Okay, so the code is out there.
Yeah,
So
some
that
draft
first
comments on it still when it merged, so I have a couple things.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oops.
Draft comments, not.
Oh.
I was slowly gathering them.
Well, do follow up patches. We wanted a base
Yeah,
thing in place so that we could make updates along the way as we realize, oh, we should write down that we need to do this at this point.
and then you had pointed me to the new PTL guide for Nova that I could probably pull some things out of as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it looks like they have some nice things in there, like here's what the new PTL should take care of. And here's some things you should do for the PTG.
Peace and love, peace and love. Okay, so honestly, I skimmed through what you put out and merged it. And so I've got a to-do to follow up and do follow-up patches. You had additional comments, Eric.
So one of them I was considering was early in the cycle, probably before milestone 1, would be to just look through requirements that should get bumped up. Hacking is one of the obvious ones we keep having to do by hand, but just generally, well, I don't know how many others we actually have to manually. It's not that we have to manually adjust, but to make sure we're not going out of our way to support like some 5-year-old version of a library that nobody's wanting to run anyway. Or whatever else might make sense there.
Okay.
I read briefly this version twice to release some checklist. From Horizon experience, I would recommend that it's really good to release new libraries like Raspberry, Cinder, Leaf, even Cinder Client early in the release cycle, so everybody can update dependency to use the library the current release cycle. It's not required, but sometimes it's very useful.
Okay.
If you don't have any features, it's useful. Operators for vendors, packages, to switch with the new branch.
Okay.
Another one that I put around milestone 3 is to just look through our bug tracker for important sounding things that hasn't been addressed.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one.
Usually some stuff floating in there.
Brian, any thoughts you have?
That's pretty exhaustive.
Exhausting? Yes.
Yeah, if amended, it's nice and well, but it was.
Yeah, any of these comments, just propose a patch to update them.
Okay. Yeah, so this was more just for awareness and to let know people.
Let people know.
I didn't have any beer at lunch. Maybe that was the problem. To let people know that it's out there and that it's, kind of a constant work in progress. Wow. Okay. Sean, you take over. Do stuff, make it good. Okay, so I think that's all I had on that. Yeah, and go ahead and propose patches. Documentation is good, etc. Dependencies and containerized volumes. Did we already cover this, Mr. Boring?
Yeah, we covered that earlier.
Okay.
Why is that up again?
Because I put it on the topic list and then you,
Oh, I see.
so, all right,
Got
so I'll remove that since we already talked about it.
You have to start arguing about something, otherwise we're gonna get done too fast.
Yeah.
I want the shed to be green and in the middle of the driveway.
Well, we can talk about PrivSet and root wrap.
Derek, weren't you doing some PrivSet stuff? Yeah, you started going through and updating some of that.
I think Nova has pretty much eliminated root wrap from what I've seen.
Yeah, but they did it by using the root wrap style usage of PrivSet, right? For the most part.
That's what we're doing in Brick. We just PrivSet the entire
Yeah,
list of commands because everything it does needs all root.
well, there's been some work Chuck Short was posting all these patches in Cinder to move things over to PrivSep. And
Oh, yeah.
I got into a few of those and pushed them to actually move to doing what PrivSep is supposed to do, which is to let you run Python code privileged and do things instead of just calling shell commands, which is what most of it is doing right now.
Yeah.
And we've gotten that done in a few places. There's a handful of places that still needs to happen. I've had a work in progress patch for LIO for like 2 years to move it to PrivSep, which I really need to go. Well, it got bogged down because people were demanding a bunch of unit tests, and I was like, I don't even know what to do with that. And I kind of never wanted to finish that
Yeah.
battle. But so we probably landed some that people didn't, you know, have much concerns about writing unit tests for PrivSep, which I don't really know how to meaningfully do that. But the next step that we need to do in Cinder that I was looking at a little bit is actually getting PrivSep stuff set up to not use all the privileges, which is also kind of the whole point of it. And this was one of the things that I think there's been some mailing list threads, maybe from the Nova guys, who said, "Oh, this whole thing is useless. Everything's just running everything with all the privileges." And it's like, well, it's not useless. It's just nobody actually did the work to
Yeah.
narrow the scope of the stuff. Because the whole theory is instead of running everything with capsys admin, you pick some permissions of what you actually need.
For that
And,
function.
yeah, and then you have different methods that can do different things. But very little work has happened that actually does that. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the next thing we need to do.
That's what we do in Brick. Everything has just all.
That's what I
Texas,
think
but-
most places that have used PrivSep have done everywhere, because it's the easy way to do it. So I still have an interest in this for sure. I haven't done much poking at it as of late, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely some good hardening opportunities and code improvement kind of stuff. Anything we can convert to not be a shell command is generally a win for sure.
Yeah.
So there's a handful of that as well. I don't really know what else to talk about in this area for now.
Well, I was looking at Nova's LVM code, which is very, very, very similar to Cinder's LVM code that lives in Brick. And I had a patch up years ago that I tried to consolidate that, and then I switched jobs and priorities changed. But Nova has converted all of their LVM code to using PrivSep, so it's very different from ours now.
So it looks like it, I mean, what does it actually do?
What do you mean?
I mean, does it actually use LVM libraries at this point?
No, it's just shells,
Oh,
but they just wrapped it all the commands in PrivSep instead of root wrap.
yeah, I mean, that's good, but that doesn't really accomplish a whole ton.
I don't think there are any reliable Python libraries for massaging LVM.
Yeah, I think LVM itself provides one, but I don't know how good it is.
Yeah, it's garbage.
Yeah.
From what I've-
I seem to remember having concerns about it too, but I don't remember
Yeah.
why. So I'm trying to think of what the next area would be for doing some of this stuff. I think it's really just going to be to get fewer and fewer things to call shell commands is kind of the next useful thing to do. And that's what my LIO patch does, is it's all, because the whole LIO target driver was implemented as a command just so that it could be called via sudo root wrap,
Mhm.
because it actually is a Python library, but it needs to be run as root. So it's actually the perfect case for needing this, and it
Yeah,
fits in with how PrivSep works. So I probably need to refresh that patch and get it in there.
I mean, how many unit tests were they asking for? Every single change or?
Well, I mean, the question is, what do you test?
In this case, I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either. I don't think I never wanted to try to figure it out, so it just kind of sat there.
Yeah, it seems like most of it would just be testing mock.
Yeah.
Because none of the tests are going to run anything with Percep anyway. They're going to presumably mock out Percep stuff. And then all the tests are just the same as what you would add anyway. So I don't know. And I don't remember at all who was demanding that or if they're still around or what. But I can go refresh that and see if that patch is still in functional shape at all.
Okay.
I think I recall Dorka having some concerns about advanced Percep usage making Cinder a little bit interesting. But, I think that's gonna just kind of have to be how it is. So
Yeah.
I'm not really sure if there was anything in particular that I try to dodge with that or anything. So. At the last gathering I guess in Berlin, I think the Oslo guys were saying Percep was kind of looking for maintainers.
Yeah.
And I told them I was interested in it, but I haven't really done anything since then. So
Yeah, okay. And earlier this week brought up Oslo Service, Oslo Percep, and TaskFlow. All the original developers have moved on, and there's
Well,
not really anyone that
I
has
mean, the
that.
huge thing that Percep needed was the thing Tommy Like was doing with the parallelism.
Yeah,
And now that that's in there, like I don't even know if there's still a to-do list of anything that needs to happen right now.
well, yeah, none in Percep. TaskFlow, we have a major issue that there's not Python 3.7 compliant.
I was reading up on
Oh,
that.
it's
Did
not.
anyone ever figure out like what's actually going on there?
I try to. There are places where they're calling raise stop iteration, which is what Python 3.7
Yeah.
changed, where you can't do that anymore. But I couldn't really see how everything fit in there to change that the right way.
Yeah, I was going to take a look at that, but I hadn't got to that one yet.
I cannot even fathom the thought of getting rid of task flow at this point
No, I
or
don't
being
think-
required to do so. We would be in a lot of trouble.
I think learning TaskFlow and fixing whatever these
We'd be
bugs are is going to be easier
Yeah.
than.
Probably not that hard to fix it.
Yeah. Someone probably just needs to spend some time and dig through it. You know, give Gorka an hour or whatever.
Yeah.
Does that mean we need to move all of our flows to TaskFlow?
No.
Remember that when that was a mid-cycle discussion for,
To be fair, all the ones we moved to it have pretty much stayed structured the same way ever since we did
Yeah,
it. So
they've
it
been
must work.
stable.
I mean,
That was a huge issue for a couple of years, actually.
well, it was a huge talking point. I don't know if it was really an issue or not, but
Yeah.
everyone liked to talk about it.
I thought it was interesting that all the things that he called out of Oslo libraries that don't have really maintainers, dedicated maintainers, are all libraries that Cinder uses.
Yeah. Yeah.
Huh.
womp, womp, womp.
I wonder why. I guess because we just do more system interaction kind of stuff.
Well, I think others do, well, Oslo Service and Oslo, other ones, yeah, but
Yeah.
Well, even Oslo Service. Everybody uses it.
yeah.
Yeah. But we've had to make fixes in there for Cinder not too long ago, I believe.
Yeah.
Any other concerns about other similar libraries?
ABC?
1, 2,
I'm
3.
going to throw them all out there.
Well, so the ABC thing, I actually was fully on board years ago with removing all that because the whole theory of what we were trying to do there just like didn't work at all. And the reason that it didn't happen is because I started submitting patches that were trying to pull off like one little piece of it at a time. And somebody who's not here now was very opposed to the idea of these incremental kind of patch efforts. And they kept complaining, and I was kind of like, well, somebody else can do it because I'm not going to remove all of ABC from Cinder in one go.
It won't go. Yeah.
Insane. But the way to do this, and I still have a patch out there somewhere, the way to do it is to take the ABC classes and just convert them to regular classes. So they're still kind of sitting there, but they don't actually do anything. And if you do that, then you can start peeling off, like, you can just delete them one at a time and refactor code as needed, and fix the inheritance lists and stuff. But I was not going to go try to remove like 25 ABC classes at the same time because that would just be stupid.
That would be a
And
ridiculous patch.
that's what somebody was trying to get me to do a few years ago, and I was kind of like, well, whatever, somebody else can do it. But yeah, I mean, we had this whole theory that ABC was going to improve quality by helping us ensure that drivers actually implemented methods with the right parameters and all this stuff, which we actually will have a way to do now in the modern Python 3 world if we ever get rid of Python 2 with type annotations and all that stuff.
You release.
But it basically didn't work. Like we all bought in on this idea that it was going to do some stuff and enforce things, and it just failed.
It failed,
Because we all misunderstood what it did.
Yeah.
Or those of us who were messing with it, including me, misunderstood what it did. And we should just rip it out because it doesn't do any good and it just confuses everybody now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. I'd be on board with incremental removal. I mean, it needs to go. Brick uses it still, but
Does it really?
yeah.
I remember it was in Brick.
I've been seeing some errors or warnings thrown up about something related to ABC. That's why I brought it up.
Collections maybe.
Yeah,
I think I've seen
there's
that.
like some deprecated usage of.
I think I got all those fixed.
Yeah.
Oh, did you? Okay.
Yeah, they moved to a different namespace and it's completely incompatible
Yeah.
between 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good time just to get rid of it.
Yeah, that seems like something we could totally do.
How about the
And if we're going to go to Python 3 and U, then this is a good time to get rid of ABC. And then during the U release, we could.
Well, because with 3.5 or 3.6, we could finally start using type annotations. And then we could finally quit having all these stupid bugs that are like people passing the wrong arguments.
Yes.
I'm very much looking forward to that.
Yeah.
you have to still wait a bit more until training release?
We can't get rid of it too much. No one's going to try to get rid of it.
Yeah, we were just talking about the migration off of it because we still have Pripsep just enabling us to call root back stuff.
And on the code base, mostly done using preset functions, or is it still good file code?
We have a lot of root wrap everywhere.
Yeah,
We were just talking about migrating to Percent.
yeah, we have
Well,
some updates done.
We migrated all those calls to go through stuff already, right?
Some of it, yeah, but not all of it. We're still using.
Well, it all goes through Pripsep.
It all goes through. Percent?
Yeah, I think
Oh,
all of
even
it.
the root wrap
I
stuff.
think all of it goes through.
We're just using Pripsep too.
It's all fake.
Yeah. Yeah, what was the resolution on that? You were gonna look at what Chuck had been doing, Eric, or something?
I mean, for Pripset, I don't know, beat my LIO patch into shape, but other than that, it's just trying to get more granularity in privileges, which is harder to do than I thought it was going to be in some cases, because there's a lot of things that just require a lot of privileges to actually do, unfortunately.
Mhm.
But I'm sure there's some places that we can do better.
That's why I didn't bother in Brick, because
Yeah.
pretty much everything that Brick does requires root.
Yeah.
I think the one thing that was changed, or I
don't know if it merged or not, was things like reading the iSCSI initiator file rather than catting the file and then parsing the output, just have Python
Yeah.
escalate it, open the file, read it.
I think we actually implemented one or two things like that too.
That's good.
And one of Chuck's patches that I think it might still be in review. He was trying to replace like chown and move and stuff with various things, which you can do if you call OS walk and all kind of stuff. There's a few like that I think that are still in review out there to catch up on.
Those would be good things to get cleaned up.
Yeah.
Do we want to make that something that we try to track over the course of the cycle and make sure we actually get it done?
I think the hard part's figuring out how to know what the target is to think that we're done.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess the goal would be to, any shell commands that could be trivially replaced with Python code, like cat or whatever, to get rid of stuff like that.
Mhm.
Probably be a pretty good goal for that kind of thing. It seems like a good idea. I don't know how many people are gonna do it, but
We still have also root wrap in our requirements. Is it really now?
It's two stops.
Oh, oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
right.
right.
That was an issue when we first tried doing this stuff. And that's, root wrap is virtually not maintained anymore, right?
It's maintained by me, it's not maintained. We're actually trying not to change it. Something will still improve performance.
should we be looking to do something like start the privset daemon from system B scripts instead of having Cinder itself start it?
That's definitely the, currently it relies on bootstrap to elevate privilege enough to run preset,
Right.
which is kind of weird. But the only alternative is to have manager support for starting up the
Yeah.
maybe commerce.
Yeah, I think it'd be a nice goal if we could at least get root wrap out of our requirements. Even if
Apparently
the
it's-
privsub calls aren't as good as they should be.
Apparently it's in our target code for some reason.
Yeah, I see that.
I don't know why it's in there though.
For the iSCSI target, so do you need to be root?
I mean, I guess it must be calling the LIO code through there and the TGT code as well.
Yeah.
But I thought that would have gotten converted with the, because we didn't convert it when we converted everything else to go through. So we could probably do that too.
Jay, did you want to afterwards go through here and like pick some priorities for, I'm just thinking that we keep, we say, we know this needs to be done. There's all these things. Yeah, we should do that. We should start converting it. Should we start tracking some of these priority things to make sure we knock them out so that we can actually get some of these out of the way?
Yeah, we should leave some time for that tomorrow in the afternoon so that we come to agreement on that. We've done that before. I think we kind of failed on doing that at the mid-cycle, but yeah. Because the priorities Etherpad needs to be updated.
Yeah.
So that would be good to do somewhat collaboratively.
I'm thinking too, then if we have an item, the priorities Etherpad, I think in the past we've just done listed specs that were priorities, but if we have some of these kind of cleanup tasks, if we can define what the task is, then there's maybe a better chance that somebody will be able to, I'll take that and do it.
Yeah.
I think there are some people out there that are looking for tasks like that, yeah, but we just need to let them know what we need to get done.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Agreed. All right, so anything more on the PrivSep or ABC discussions? Nope, okay. Delete volume from DB.
Yeah, so this is something that is demanded by our support board, and they actually went and implemented it. But I didn't like the way they implemented it, so I -2 it. But what they need is a way to just get rid of volumes, like a volume delete that doesn't actually go through the driver and everything. It's basically just to clean up stuff that landed in some broken state that we need gone.
Yeah, wasn't the use case that the driver on the back end was already deleted, but things got stuck in Cinder and we just need to get it out of there?
I don't think that's the use case, because that's already supposed to work.
Yeah.
If your driver works right, that's supposed to happen anyway. I think it was more like stuff that got stuck in creating and never went anywhere.
And, I understand use case versus, I agree it's really important features, because sometimes you need to re-arc the database. Because something went wrong storage side, but why don't we just use force delete for the process?
Well, force delete is not the right thing, because force delete calls drivers and everything.
Yes, but we can.
Every 6 months, somebody wants to make force delete do something new, and we can't do it because it's the only thing it's supposed to do is skip the status check in API.
More forcefully delete.
So, but there's a couple ways we could do this. The current code that's up added a field to, what did it do? I guess we already have a Cinder manage delete, which is very similar to force delete. And this added a field to that, which basically made it skip the driver part.
Yeah, we did merge that, right?
No,
Oh,
because I might have do it.
Oh,
Because it's,
I hate my own code.
I didn't write it.
It doesn't mean that I don't need any more to go to the data now and to wipe the bills to volume.
Yeah, I mean, that's the idea, is to let you clean it up without having to go into the database and everything.
Okay.
There's a couple of ways to do this. I didn't like the current patch because it added a DB only flag that went all the way through the delete volume RPC API and all over the manager code, and it was just way too much stuff for like the corner case that I think there's cleaner ways to do it. I mean, one option would be to leverage something with unmanaged, because that basically is the right semantics for what you want anyway.
yeah.
The approach that I was favoring was more to have Cinder manage do this in a way that doesn't go through the RPC API and just does it in the database itself, which I don't know if it's easier or harder. It sounds easier, but then you start having to worry about things like quotas getting messed up.
What would be the difference between using the manage again?
Yeah, I don't know that anyone has thought about it long enough. I don't know. There might not be much difference, because I think it's a similar idea. The main difference is you can do it when a volume is in stage, I guess. I don't know if you can unmanage a volume that's stuck in like error extending or something.
Would probably be a problem that we it's all in the same place, right? So if we implement this, we will need to have a set of states that we will be able to run this.
Well,
For the unmanaged, we just can go and add them, right? States, it's not what we can never as a manager.
That's true if you assume that when you want to do a manual cleanup like this, you actually want to go through the whole Cinder stack through the API and RPC and all that stuff, which may be fine, but it's, I don't know. It struck me as strange to implement it as like a full-scale API call that went through the whole stack of Cinder when the whole point of it is to fix something that's broken already. It might be the right way to do it, but I'm not really sure.
Use your favorite option, dash force.
Yeah, we already covered that one. So I don't know. I think we should have a way to do this for this use case, but I don't know. I kind of like the idea of just cramming the whole thing into Cinder Manage and not have it go anywhere and just have it do it at that layer. But I don't know if that's as easy as it sounds like it might be.
So, what about if we change the naming for this, not Cinder Manage, remove the only part, Cinder Manage, remove ignore driver, ignore driver, and so we can try to remove it via driver.
But then in that,
If it fails, we can remove.
I think you've just implemented unmanaged though. Is the thing. I think it's the same thing as unmanaged if you don't call the driver.
Okay, if it want to manage, why do we need this?
Yeah, because this is exactly what Cinder managed does. You get an object,
Except
you remove from the data.
for status checking.
Yeah, but you just change the Cinder managed stack status checking.
Right, but then what do we call?
Okay, what's the difference between just removing the database or information and unmanaged?
The difference right now is that I'm pretty sure unmanaged will not work if it's in certain states, like attached. There's also a counter argument that they should just be running reset state and all this stuff, but I don't know. Maybe we don't have to implement anything if we write down if you run this sequence of 5 commands, you get what you want. I don't know.
That was the thing I liked about this is we're not, the customer's coming and having a problem, we're not saying, okay, do this big long checklist of things to get out of this state that we put you in.
Right.
I'd rather just say, okay, run this command.
Right.
Wasn't there some weird corner, like if the back end had physically been removed?
Mhm.
Maybe, yeah.
So it sounds like we are going to add one more comment that does break the same few others, but we've got first delete, unmanaged, and delete volume, delete DB only. It becomes really confusing.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's why we don't. I don't think we're gonna add delete DB only, because that's really odd looking. Oh, and I guess we merged a spec on this already too, unfortunately.
And this word delete is very strong. You said just a manage, it just, I think it's closer to what is really going to happen. Right? It will scare a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like unmanaged with like ignore state might do the right thing.
Yeah, just add another option.
As long as we don't call it force.
Of course.
I don't know. So that's my favorite theory so far is we implement unmanaged -- ignore state or something.
Yes, it sounds reasonable.
Yeah.
And
And it might only require API server changes and not stuff off the
for
default.
me, it's more clear and less confusing.
Yeah.
One problem I think you may run into is in our current quota system, where we haven't rewritten it all yet, and the way I keep imagining it will, if you run Cinder unmanaged, ignore state or whatever for something that was stuck in creating, do you even know if it's had quota allocated or not? Like, what do you do with the quota if you don't even know if it got created or not?
For the image,
Yeah.
It's the same issue for delete.
it's not, it should.
You don't worry, because our quotas don't work anyway.
Yeah, trust me, I know.
It's an admin option, and if the admin is going to just remove, the admin, he is removing the volume from the tenant's ownership, and it should remove it. Recording.
Well, yeah, but we don't know how to do that necessarily, because we don't know if it actually was, yeah. If we don't know if it was ever created, I don't know if we know if it ever had quota assigned to it or not.
Because we do the quotas when we manage, right?
Yeah,
So, to the office, right?
well, I'm not really about managing, I'm about creating. Because depending on where you fail to create, you may or may not handle quota. If you fail to create with an over quota error, well, that's a synchronous failure actually, so that won't happen, because it doesn't get created. I don't know, I'll buy that we can make it work with ignoring the state.
What's the problem with the force?
Hmm?
What's the problem with the force?
Problem with force is vague, and everybody thinks it does different things, and everybody keeps wanting it to do different things. Because people say, I ran this under delete -- force, why didn't it delete it? Well, it doesn't mean it will always delete it, it means it will
It's
not check
no
the
matter what
status.
happens, no matter what state you delete. It seems to me that the understanding from operators is that force, we just bypass blocker that might show, for example, if we run the first time without force, then you say this volume is in attached state, then you cannot delete it.
Yeah, but that's
And then
the only.
you can say force, and it will bypass that blocker.
Right. But I mean, we have a proposal up right now where somebody wants to pass force for force delete to the driver so that the driver can behave differently in force delete.
What?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Why?
For reasons that are horrible, and I've -2'd it, and
Or
whatever.
maybe
But-
you should have the delete should always be delete, and you should, in this case, you should have a soft.
Force delete
Because it
dash
is-
dash right there. Well, like Seth, when you're trying to delete a pool, dash dash yes dash I really dash
Oh,
want
yeah.
dash do dash this.
Really, really do it.
The problem with unmanaged is that it doesn't cover the second thing in this commit message, which was backups. Although backups I don't know how backups would be getting stuck in an undeletable state anyway. That seems like that shouldn't really happen nearly as much as volumes. So I'm going to ignore that part for now. But,
Baby steps.
yeah.
So the to-do out of this is,
Make a new mode for unmanaged, I guess.
okay. Who's to doing that?
I think I'm gonna go suggest that the guy that was working on this do it, but he put it on me to
Okay.
push it somewhere.
I'm gonna send you a list of all the things you've signed up for after this.
I've forgotten them all by the time I get back from vacation, so.
Oh God, you're doing that again. Son of a bitch. Sure, I'll do that. Sure, I'll do that. come back. What? Did I, what?
All these notes, it'll be fine. Isn't that-
He wasn't in the triple O session that he had raised, so I'm guessing not, but it looks like so.
Okay.
So file the bug in Cinder.
Yeah.
Quiest snapshots.
Yeah, why don't we have this? It'd be really cool. That's all I got. No. This actually has puzzled me for like 6+ years that we don't have this.
Because there's no way to tell
There is, you just gotta write the code.
the instance to stop.
I thought I brought this up with Nova, and that there actually is something in there, at least for boot volumes.
So the question here was, why don't we have Quiest snapshots for Cinder volumes? I believe if you do a Nova instant snapshot, you can get them for Cinder volumes through
Yeah.
that mechanism, but there's no mechanism through Cinder to get them for
That's
volumes
because
in
we
general.
can't do anything about it, right?
Well, we could if we wanted to.
Oh.
So, we thought through this. I mean, what we would do is call the Nova events API or whatever and tell it that we want to quiesce and pause
Mhm.
and wait for it to pause the VM, and then we can do Cinder driver snapshots like we do now, and then send an event to Nova to say resume the instance. And I get that there's a lot of things that would scare people in this plan, going between services and pausing VMs and stuff. But I'm kind of serious with my first question, because before OpenStack, I was in the backup world, and this is like the most important freaking thing ever in the backup world, is to be able to do quiescing for snapshots.
But the thing is, I think it has to be driven by Nova or whoever is consuming that volume, because we can't,
We can tell Nova to do it if we build.
we
the
can,
stuff
and
to
then
do
we
it.
could lose a message, and then the VM can be stuck in
Well, I
that
mean,
quiesce state, and then the OS starts complaining and blows up.
that's true.
Does that count
for
back
any-
up too?
That's true for anything in Nova already. I mean,
Huh?
I'm gonna assume the infrastructure like works here.
I agree with Sean here, because the next step will be, okay, let's do volume real volume attachment to your single API. Let's seem to ask Nova to attach. this.
So the response is that we shouldn't think about this nice feature because it might be hard to implement, is what you're saying?
No, I think it just, we need, if we want it, we
Yeah.
need to work with Nova to get
With
it.
Nova,
We can't.
That's the proposal I'm
Yeah.
making.
Well, then it needs to be a Nova discussion of Nova, do you want to add this feature?
Well, we can have one of those.
Because we can create the snapshot, and that's the role of the storage, is to create that snapshot, to interact with whatever workload is running on there. That has to be driven by,
Don't you have to have an agent in the guest?
Yeah,
Yeah,
agent,
yeah,
yes, we have to, we
But
have
Nova
do
supports
this.
all that stuff already.
Oh, it does.
We have do this, yeah. We have
Okay.
implement this in our company and to do backup manually with Nova, Chris agent. Yeah.
Okay.
and
Well, then,
I think
yeah.
Linux guests are pretty, a little more resilient, but anyone running Windows, if you have that integration, I think it used to be at least that you had 30 seconds to get everything done, and if you didn't, then the whole thing would fail.
Well, I mean, on
Very
Windows,
nice.
it's vastly dependent on, you can have applications in the VSS stack that insert custom quiescing things that do all kind of stuff, depending on what you're running.
Yeah, so they have to quiesce, but then also the storage has to come back and say, yeah, I took the snapshot within that 30-second window. So all of that has to happen. Otherwise, if there's a delay in getting that message back and forth between Cinder, if we're driving things,
Well, again, I'm going to assume the infrastructure between Cinder and Nova works, because if it doesn't, I mean, that's a whole problem everywhere.
I think there's a lot of documented issues with RabbitMQ, and if we're relying on that to get time-critical events to happen on both sides.
I mean, you're basically saying that, like, RabbitMQ doesn't work in OpenStack, so we can't do this. Like, I don't,
I'm not saying, others have said that to me.
Yeah,
I don't really buy it. But,
So when we have a cross-project meeting with Nova,
Yeah.
then let's
We
bring it
can
up,
Nova,
because
yeah.
we want to do this.
Yeah, I'm not saying don't bring it up.
well,
It's
that was
just-
the thing too, was I wanted to see if anyone actually cared.
Yeah.
Because I kind of wondered why we don't have more people asking for this, because it's kind of an obvious
Yeah,
storage
it is an
feature.
obvious
Like,
storage feature.
and it kind of puzzles me that people aren't complaining about it more.
Yeah.
Really. And I mean, part of the reason it came up is because a couple of people raised it for our product downstream, and you know, we don't have a whole lot to tell them for now.
We just have to be very careful about either leaving the VM in a bad state because something happened on the Cinder side, or things timing out in the instance and IO resuming, and then after that, us taking the snapshot and reporting back to the end user that, yeah, we got a consistent snapshot, everything's good, when in fact, there's,
Shit's on.
yeah, half-written transactions and
Yeah, I mean, that's all about getting the API between Cinder and Nova designed in a way where we can keep track of what's in what state, which is going to require some thought. But I don't think anybody has even been thinking about doing this for the last few years. So it seems like something we should consider.
all right, I put it on the cross-project time.
Yeah. This is pretty nice to do it.
Um, All right, one more topic. And then take a break, take a nap.
Mhm.
Um, all right, so RSD driver and getting it merged.
That seems to have some patches linked there that aren't related to the RSD driver.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
There's one comment from Walter. It is about to move an exception to the Cinder common class. But in last comment, Eric just said that we can leave the RSD specific exception in our driver class, right?
Yeah, we just
Yeah,
discussed
so-
that previously, so I'll retract that. So you can leave it there.
Okay, just giving the RSD class, right? Okay.
Third-party CI. Intel RSD success.
So this required some Nova changes too. If I remember correctly. Did that already happen?
Is RSD lib a pipey package?
Oh, sorry.
Is RSD lib a pipey package?
Pi.
can you install by just saying pip
Pip install RSD lib?
RSD lib?
As believe, I think we have, let me check, okay?
Yes, it's really 5 years.
It is?
Check it.
Okay.
So is there any concern about this that's actually different from the normal, it's a new driver thing, or?
Nope.
Okay.
It's just we missed it at the end, or it missed the end of the last cycle because their third-party CI wasn't ready. And I've gotten several questions here if we were ready to merge it, and I wanted to put it in front of people to see if there's anybody who had massive objections. They're running.
Did we ever figure out what the whole story was with NVMe over Fabric?
So
All that stuff. I mean, I watched it, but I'm not sure I really was like following
So-
exactly what was happening there.
So I talked to the SPDK developer on this. He was here during the summit. He's gone now. It was just terminology fuck up. That somebody called it NVMe when it should have been NVMe over fabrics. And so I think we changed it,
I
right?
remember seeing patches to change it.
Okay.
Can't remember if those were merged or not.
So based on the discussion with him, that's the right thing to do. The other thing to be watching is there's going to be an NVMe over something else patch connector that's coming before too long. I don't remember what that was.
Dual fabric. And then
Nope, we already have NVMe over fabric.
So Walt still has a patch up in Brick to rename some of this stuff. Is that still valid or
Yeah, I don't know what happened to all that.
throwing that out now or what?
I think what I was trying to do was consolidate and eliminate the confusion. I don't know if I accomplished that or not, or where my patches went. Oh yeah, it's just renaming the connector from NVMe to NVMe OF, because that's the protocol name that's used.
Yeah.
Across the wire too. Just, I think that was the source of a lot of confusion.
Okay.
Wasn't really much of a complaint. Yeah, my patch is just sitting there.
The CI's pass percent is 50
Which one?
RSD.
Oh,
Well,
50%.
that might have just been getting it to work the first time.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
What has it been like the last week?
Well, last success was an hour and 31 minutes ago. First seen January 2nd. Yeah, so maybe that was just part of getting it to work too.
Yeah, looking at the last success, it looks like the third-party CI artifacts have the console, has all the test results. Looks like everything's being run.
I'm sure it actually runs all the tests. That seems to be it.
It has 225 tests it's running.
I don't know what the number's supposed to be now.
And I checked the stream logs and it's not running the LVM driver.
I usually go read the regex they pass in. Because that's usually an easy way to tell what's going on.
Okay.
I have one more -1 on it.
They're not running the Cinder Tempest plugin tests,
Oh,
which is not great. Should be pretty easy to get that in there.
It does use a driver-specific username and password prefix setting. I'm trying to push back from that.
The PODM username and password? What's wrong with that?
We have a common username and password config setting, so we're trying to avoid adding config options. to
Gotcha.
Every single.
in the
Yeah, -1 that then too.
You want to use the SAM password thing?
Yeah, and we push back other drivers, so there's no reason to add a new username config option when there's a common one that nearly everybody else uses.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Is it part of the SAN?
That's what I was wondering, is this even a SAM?
This is not a SAN. A
That
pod
is a
manager is a
SAN.
completely different thing.
And we should add,
We should really unify some.
Yeah, we should then. I mean,
yeah, well, I don't want to hold them up.
storage
on that.
username, storage
Yeah.
password.
Yeah, I don't want to hold them up, but we should really go through and try to make some better common config options.
Yeah,
That's a great idea.
I remember somebody was tasked with that about 4 years ago.
What's that?
One thing that might interfere with that is storage plugins that need to have an account based on something like volume type. So essentially, we have, maybe like a PTG token or something accessing the backend initially, but then they have to separate out user accounts.
Yeah, and I think there are other drivers that have that, where there's like the one main API interface user account, and then there's like actual driver-specific user accounts, and that's fine.
Okay.
I just don't want, we've had some of these where they're using their main API user account, and rather than using the existing config option, making their name _user.
Yeah.
Right.
One of the other things that I've been looking at in some drivers lately, which looks like an issue in this one, is I think force detach is not implemented correctly.
Which is?
Force detach and terminate connection. Because it has if connector is none, and it just does a return. And I think that's not what's.
No, that is not correct.
Yeah, we have this problem.
Yeah. Do you want to hold it up on that Cinder Tempest plugin?
I mean, that should be something somebody could turn on. But I have another -1 now.
I think we need a topic to go over third-party CI, and
Yeah,
I know
we usually-
people,
we
a
usually
lot of
do
the
one.
CIs are not running the plugin. I think we do need to make it a goal.
Is there some reason that's, I mean, it's really easy to add. the
It
plugin,
is,
right?
yeah. I think I was still PTL at the time, so it must have been like Pike that we said this is required for all third-party CI.
I mean, I think it's just a couple lines of config stuff to make it happen. I don't know why so many aren't running it.
So I think it needs to be a cycle goal that we review third-party CI, and they absolutely, I would say by the end of train, absolutely everyone has to be running Python 3, because in we're dropping Python 2, so
Yeah.
we need to find out before then if these are all going to die.
You got that, Jay?
What?
We'll make him do it.
Yeah.
What do I have to do? Sorry, the guy who's interested in the RSD driver was just asking me if we're actually talking about it right now. So I was responding. So what do I have to do?
Sorry, just that. So Eric, your comments about the RSD driver, so that we need to enable the configuration, the CI, right?
Sorry, what?
You just added a comment in the RSD driver.
Yeah.
Yeah, that means about the CI, right? CI configuration.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the CI, it runs Tempest. It should also be running the Cinder Tempest plugin with the Tempest drive. It's-
Okay, that means more types.
Jay, we're basically saying that we should,
After this
in the
argument
training
side,
rules,
more CI
make sure
has to
every
be
CI
run, right?
is running Python.
It has to what?
Oh, yes.
More CI
Okay.
tests will be run, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's
only a few more though. I don't think we have too many.
Okay.
And I think even by milestone 2, because I think if
Yeah.
they don't,
We
they're
need to-
unsupported,
Yeah. Mhm.
so that we can get rid of them in the next release when they will absolutely not.
Will not work at all. Yeah, absolutely. Yep, I think that's a great idea.
You need to rewrite the driver. Sorry.
Just arrived after the discussion.
Um, Was there something else third-party CIs need to do?
I think we should enforce that everybody should be running that cinder tip as plugin, especially if we're downloading new drivers for not doing it. We should make sure that existing ones are.
Yeah, because
Okay.
I'm using that thing to shake bugs out of drivers. It doesn't work if nobody runs it.
Right. So I guess I'll start communicating those things on the mailing list.
I would.
What do we do if those goals aren't met by milestone 2? Do I start shooting unsupported
I think so.
patches out there?
Yep.
Oh, I'm gonna be loved.
You're gonna
Okay.
be loved even less when the drivers just simply don't work at all.
Okay.
And you, because we don't support Pylon 2 anymore.
If you want to be good cop, bad cop, I'll submit the patches.
You're a bad cop.
Any other requirements that we have of third-party CI that we need to make sure? I mean, if we're doing an audit of them, of all of them, then
Well, there was the one that was retrying its CI like 10 times until it passed for every test run. That's not great.
Feature.
We could discourage that. It has to actually pass on one run and not 1 of 10. I can't remember which one that was, but I think it's still out there.
I thought they fixed that.
I seem to remember we were requesting it to be fixed, and then I don't think I ever heard it again.
Who was that? I don't remember
I
that.
think it was one of the EMC ones, but I'm not
Yeah,
100% sure.
I think it was Power Max.
Oh, and I can't even blame Shing anymore. Regini's sitting quietly.
Not associated with any numbers.
We'll blame Helen since she's not here.
So, well, we kind of just jumped right over. Is there anything more on the RSD driver that we should?
Yeah,
talk
now that we've got David here.
We've got a bunch of -1s on there now.
Sorry.
Doesn't look like any of them are major issues.
No.
Okay, so some more comments to address and hopefully quickly look at the response after that comes back, and then we can get that one in. Do we have other new drivers that need to be addressed? I've lost track of what's
I
out
don't know
there.
about-
Put them all under the same topic, so it's actually easy to find. all of them.
You really missed an opportunity there to go like train engineers instead of train drivers.
I failed.
Apparently there's 4 of them.
There's 4 of them?
At least that I caught and put in the, under the same topic.
One of them I -2'd for bad config options in December, and it's not been updated,
Yeah,
so I don't know what's up with that one.
yep, no, we are not allowing that anymore.
Train conductors. Train drivers.
Any questions from the RSD team about anything so far?
I think we will, yeah, we will address the comments and, I mean, we can make the CN system. Yeah, to make it done as soon as possible. So I hope that you can have to review once this task are done.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
thank you very much.
We're watching it now, so if you get an update out there.
Should we be asking new drivers to update support matrix.ini?
Yes.
We really need to get a checklist of add a release note, update this doc file. We kind of have all these kind of assumed things that we keep downvoting patches because, oh, you didn't do this, oh, you didn't do this, oh, you didn't do this.
Well, I totally forgot about support matrix.ini until I saw it on one of the other driver patches and
Yeah,
realized this one didn't do it.
If someone actually was paying attention to that, like the guy that put it there.
We really need to automate that thing. That seems.
Yeah, it really should. It'd be great if it was more automated.
Oh, their config was an XML file.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Okay, yeah.
Nope.
There was a day when you could have gotten away with it.
There were drivers that
Yes.
I think there still is one driver.
Jay, you still have a review priority -1 on one of the drivers because it didn't make it into Stein.
Damn right.
They haven't responded to anything since they submitted the driver, so I don't know if it's worth taking that off.
I can try taking it off and see if anything happens. The tingling initial driver?
Yeah.
Oh, tingling.
That thing's been failing PEP 8 for months. That is not a good sign to get one patch that fails PEP 8 and then nothing for 3 months.
There's no response of anything after that initial.
Why would you put all that work in and then disappear?
I don't know.
The OS Nexus driver also looks like it may be ready. Just looking at
They're
super happy with their log publishing, but it looks like everything is actually there.
their login method passes username, password, and random code D9C0A. That looks terrifying.
Really?
From the single driver.
Are there logs being served off a server in my basement?
I don't know, but seeing that with no comment explaining why it's there is not comforting.
What is this dot dict? What the hell is that?
Oh, that's actually a thing we've done other places in
Oh,
Cinder,
yeah.
because it's easy way to get object key notation for
Accessing the
Python
dictionary
dictionaries.
property or dictionary value. Like
Although I think we only do it in unit tests.
Did we ever root that out? Because when we switched over to Oslo versioned objects, we didn't want to convert everywhere that was treating, that was the other way. We were accessing object properties like a dictionary.
Better than
This seems really lazy to me.
better than a dic.
It's actually probably true that in new code, there's not a good reason
I
to
don't
do
see a
that.
reason for,
Although I can't even find where we did it before.
I think it was an Oslo versioned objects. So Cinder object. All right, should we? Oh, where do we have the schedule? I guess we can just look at drivers for a while.
Find all of the things to -1.
Should we take a little break?
Yeah, I mean, we've been going for almost 2 hours straight, and we've gotten a little ahead of schedule. Do we want to sit and do reviews, or do we want to start pulling topics in from tomorrow?
Well, we kind of skipped over one thing of the generic backup status.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But let's take a break and then come back.
So, Sean, what do you think about this? This QuantaScore driver actually has an API too, and they're putting it all in the drivers. Shouldn't they create a subdirectory and put all their shit in it?
Oh, right in the root.
Yeah.
We should. I didn't notice that before. We really should. Cinder volume, driver host, Nexus, underscore, or something.
It's something, yeah.